Good morning, grade fours, and welcome to another natural science lesson with me, Miss Kun. I hope that you had a good night's sleep again and that you're ready to learn something new. I'm very excited, and I hope that you've picked up by now. I absolutely love sciences and I love teaching sciences, and I just love to learn, and especially this topic that we're doing all on life and living, learning about plants and animals is really awesome. And today we're really going to learn more about the wonderful world of nature, and we're going to learn more about animals and how they've adapted to their environment, and we are going to go on a very exciting journey. So I hope that you are ready. But before we begin, I am going to start off with a joke, because it's always fun to smile. And remember that if we are positive and we are happy with learning, it helps us just grow, and it just helps us get excited about the subject, and it helps us just to continually want to learn more. So the joke is, what did the big flower say to the small or little flower? I'm laughing because I know what the answer is. So the big flower, what did he say to the little flower? Hi, bud. Yep. Hi, bud. So yes, you're allowed to laugh at me, or you're allowed to laugh at the joke. Please spread the joke. It's lame, but I love it. So let's start this lesson. Let's start this day. Remember that this lesson is brought to you by WorksheetCloud. And if you've got any questions, email them to grade4@worksheetcloud.com. So today we're going to be looking at the second part of habitats, and we're going to be finishing off habitats today. And today is an exciting, short and sweet lesson, but it's all about different animals and how animals specifically have adapted to their habitats by two certain ways. And we're going to specifically explore camouflage and mimicry. There's many more different ways that animals have adapted to their habitats and their environments, but you learn about that in a little bit more detail as you get older in grade 5, 6, and 7. But I thought especially today, camouflage is so much fun, and mimicry as well is so interesting actually. But camouflage, it's like let's play a hide and seek with animals in their habitats and in their environments. So that's what we're going to look at today. So just to refresh, remember that animals and plants need food, water, and shelter in their habitats. Animals also need a safe place to have their young and to hide from predators and escape from other danger. Right, so please remember that. Remember that an organism can only be classified as living if it is able to also reproduce, which is one of the 7 life processes of living things. So it needs to be able to have their young to make copies of themselves. That's also another way to explain reproduction. And so if it isn't able to reproduce, it's not classified as living. If you have a look at this picture, this is actually little fish eggs. And for those of you that have seen Finding Nemo, these are actually clownfish eggs. So Nemo and his dad, Marlin, something, they are clownfish, and these are actually little clownfish eggs. So they don't look real. They look actually like buttons. Okay, so let's move on. So adaptation. So the 2 questions that I pose to you is, how do prey animal avoid being eaten? And then secondly, how do predators avoid being seen by prey? So those are the sort of 2 questions that I'm going to ask you. And we're going to sort of look at how animals have adapted themselves by the art of camouflage to answer those 2 questions. So in front of you, we've got 4 different pictures. We've got a butterfly here that has adapted. The color of its wings look very similar to the color of the leaves in which it is sitting on. We have got an owl here in the top right-hand corner. Now this owl, it looks like its eyes are closed. Now owls are actually nocturnal creatures, nocturnal animals, which means, for those of you that remember, that they do a lot of their hunting at night, and so they're more active at night and then rest during the day. Here at the bottom left-hand corner, we've got a frog, and then we've got a spider that gives me the heebie-jeebies. Not very, I'm not much of a fan of spiders, to be very honest with you. Okay. So let's have a look here. So here we have a leaf-tailed gecko. Now this particular gecko is quite an interesting one, and it's amazing. Just look at the geckos. The coloring on its skin is very similar to the coloring on the bark of the tree. Also, the pattern on its skin looks like very similar to the pattern of the bark on the tree as well. And if you look very closely, you might have to pause the video. If you look at its feet are also sort of, it's very difficult to see its feet, but you can see just very carefully, you can make out its little foot over here. But its body is relatively flat. You can see the rest of its body. Okay, its head is a little bit bigger, but its body is flat. Its colorings are absolutely amazing. Now, some animals rely on their habitat to escape predators or to hide from the food that they are trying to catch. They are able to blend in with their surroundings by the art of camouflage. Very cool. Let's look at a few more examples. So here we've got what we call a Vietnamese mossy frog, and the name suggests how this particular animal has adapted to its environment. So this frog looks like moss. How amazing is that? And so frogs, we know, are amphibians. And an amphibian is a class of animal that lives in both water and on land. So it needs a moist, wet environment, such as your rainforests or wetlands or rivers, somewhere where there's a bit of both. But this particular frog, you can see how amazing it is. It actually looks like it is part of moss. And you can even see there is liquid or water on its skin. And it's camouflaged so well in its habitat, you wouldn't even think that it's there. So remember, as I said, that animals use camouflage for two reasons. Firstly, they use it to hide from predators, and secondly, they use it to hide from their prey. Okay, so those are the two reasons why animals camouflage. Let's look at the mountain hare. You can see the biggest feature of a mountain hare is the color of its fur. Its fur is pure white. It's beautiful. It blends in and camouflages so well into its habitat, which is a snowy habitat. You can see, look how white the habitat is. So it camouflages itself so well to hide itself from predators. Only sort of, I can see the tops of its ears and its eyes and a bit of its nose, bring out some coloring of the hair, but it has adapted so well to its habitat. Then we have my friend, the good old spider that gives me the heebie-jeebies. I'm not too much of a fan of spiders, to be honest with you. But by looking at this animal, it is just amazing how this spider has blended and camouflaged itself so well into a plant that even its colorings are so similar to that of the coloring of this flower. It is absolutely amazing. Look at its body. Look at the colorings are so spot on. And so this particular spider is called the goldenrod crab spider. And so you can just imagine the spider has camouflaged itself right there. An animal that comes to the flowers to drink up all that nectar then gets a not so pleasant surprise when that spider is there waiting for them. So just another example of how amazing animals actually are. Then we have what we call a great rockfish. Now, a rockfish it's actually quite poisonous. Now, I am a scuba diver, and I have a story for you. A couple of years ago, I went scuba diving, and coral is beautiful under the water. And what scuba divers, or at least what I always love to try and find, are these little slugs called nudibranchs. And now you would think slugs, but these sort of sea slugs, they are actually beautiful. You must research nudibranchs. And they are very rare to find. So it's always like a game that when you go scuba diving to see where you can find these slugs, and there are thousands of species of these particular nudibranchs. So I was looking at coral, and all of a sudden, so I was quite close up to coral. I was looking at the nudibranch, it was somewhere there, and then all of a sudden I saw something move, and it happened to be a rockfish. Now, rockfish, they really still, until they see its prey, because they are predators, they will then get their prey. They are dangerous, but they're incredible because it's more the texture, the colorings you can see immediately. It blends in so well with the coral, but also the texture as well. Coral is not smooth. Well, should I say most coral is not smooth. It's sort of rough in texture. And so even the texture of this rockfish, it is very easy to get it confused with coral. So it camouflages itself so well. So this now brings us to mimicry. Now mimicry is also, I think it's super cool. And again, it's just a way of showing you how nature is actually amazing. So I've got a question for you. If I show you this particular picture of this insect, you would immediately, my first thought was it is a wasp. Because it's coloring, it's yellow and black, it is a wasp. But interestingly enough, it is not a wasp, it is a Hoover fly. So I want to just show you the difference. So here is a wasp, and a stinging wasp, and here is a Hoover fly, and you can see that just by its colorings it's very similar. And so that's pretty much what mimicry is about. It's how an animal has adapted to mimic or make or look like. So the word mimic is to copy or look like, or so they are mimicking the appearance of a wasp, so that when a predator comes, a predator is not going to eat the fly because it thinks it's a wasp. And what does a wasp do? A wasp stings. And so it mimics that, the appearance of a wasp by its colorings, so that it sort of like tricks its predators. It's quite amazing. Another way that an animal can mimic is that if you have a look at this particular lizard or this reptile over here, this is actually a gecko. And this gecko resembles a leaf, particularly in this particular tree where the leaves are brown, even to the shape of its body, the colorings, the texture. It looks like you can see the veins on a leaf here, very similar to the veins here, or the texture of the coverings of this particular lizard. And so animals also use their habitats to mimic parts of plants. So leaves, twigs, its surroundings. And so it can mimic actual parts of plants, which is amazing. And then remember, we had a look at the Hoover fly, and other animals like the Hoover fly try to look like a stinging wasp. This fools the predators into thinking that they are dangerous to eat. So isn't that just amazing? Animals really and truly, they're just amazing. Okay, so I don't know about you, but let's have some fun. Let's do an activity. So this activity is called Can You Find the Animal, or Spot the Animal. I'm going to show you a series of 4 pictures, one at a time. I'll give you some time. What I do suggest, pause the picture, have a look, have a really good look, unpause the video, and then see if you are right. Okay, let's go. So picture number 1. Where is this animal? Can you spot this animal? What type of animal is it? Let's go. Okay, I hope that you did pause. I hope you had a good look. And if you were correct, there is that animal, and it's called a great horned owl. Again, it amazes me how this owl, the colorings of this owl is very similar to the colorings of the bark of the tree. Even the pattern on the feathers of the owl looks like the bark, and it's just camouflaged itself amazingly. Picture number 2, spot the animal. And yes, you are correct. It is right over there, and it's called the common barren caterpillar. And it is amazing. So with leaves, remember we spoke about the veins in leaves. Now this is a netted veined leaf, and there is this main vein that runs down the center of the leaf, and you can see that the color of the vein is very similar to the color on the back of this caterpillar. It's amazing. Even its legs look like the veins of the leaf. Insects, aren't they just incredible? So interesting. Okay, picture number 3. Go. So did you see that there were 3? These are called leaf litter toads. Look at these toads. They are the same species of toad. They've just are different in color. And the colorings look exactly like that of leaves that have fallen off trees in autumn. How cool. Lastly, our last picture for the day. Okay. So as much as this little guy gives me the heebie-jeebies, it's also just amazing. Just look at him. This is called a wraparound spider. And this spider, firstly, the first thing that I noticed is how flat the body of the spider is. And it brings its body quite close, legs quite close to each other, and it really wraps itself around the tree. It blends and camouflages itself so well with its habitat, with that particular tree, that an organism, another species, another prey that comes along won't be able to spot it. I would never spot it. And so it's pretty amazing. So did you get 4 out of 4? I hope you did. But that brings us to the end of our habitats lesson. I hope that you've enjoyed it and that you've learned lots. And boys and girls, again, I encourage you, continually ask questions about your environment, ask questions about the world. If you are able to access shows on plants and animals, or read books on plants and animals, articles, magazines, newspapers, anything to learn, especially about camouflaging and mimicry. It's so cool and it's so interesting. I had so much fun today. I hope that you did too. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hakuna Matata. And remember, be kind to one another. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.